Hey guys, how's it going? I'm tired. I didn't know that was gonna come out so whiny, but I'm just sitting here realizing that I am, and that's okay. And I'm still showing up because I am committed to this channel and to y'all, and it's Thursday, and it's time for some Thursday thoughts. And so for these Thursday thoughts, I have got a little structure happening where I'm gonna share three things basically. One thing is something that I'm really inspired by or digging this last week. The second thing, the middle part, the meatier part, the more substantive portion. Is that a word, substantive? Um, my struggles. I'm a coach. I'm an artist. I'm a creativity coach. I'm a woman in recovery. I'm a recovery coach. I'm many things. I'm still figuring out what the heck I call myself. But mostly, I am a sober woman who's creative and artistic and does coaching for people who are of a spiritual bent, spiritually minded, um, and who want to like rejuvenate their recovery practice or, stay sober, enhance and support the recovery program, be more creative within that. So that's kind of the gist of all that. Sorry. Sometimes I feel like I have my description kind of locked in, and then sometimes it's like, I don't really know how to talk about it. And I'm giving myself that permission and just kind of letting that shit happen because I'm in the middle of this really intense course that's sort of helping me with all this. So it's kind of like the goal is to sort of get it all disrupted and really hone in on what I'm about and what I'm doing. So you're kind of getting to witness that process. And I apologize if it can get a little confusing. But, anyways, this middle part is since I'm a coach, I never coach on anything or teach anything that I'm not actively practicing my own self. So, in the second portion, I share what's been up for me this last week and how I'm coaching myself through that so that you can kind of see it in action and rest assured that if you're dealing with that similar issue, you're not alone. And also, just kind of hearing how I'm dealing with it might inspire you to handle your own shit in a way that serves you. And then the third part is just what I think something exciting that happened for me over the last week, or a victory or win, if you will, because I also want to model that. I think we need to be talking a lot more of what we're doing right or what we're doing well, and also focusing on what's going well and positive in our lives, because we can tend to just focus on what's hard or what's the next thing. I know I'm notorious for this, where I never think I'm working hard enough. I'll achieve a goal and instantly be thinking about the next one and almost discount all the effort and accomplishment of the last goal. So I'm really trying to make more of an effort to celebrate not just achievements and goals met, but the effort that it's taking, even if I don't quite see the result yet. If I'm taking effort, I think that's worth celebrating. And I think you're worth celebrating and having those things celebrated for you as well. So I'll go first, and then hopefully you'll feel inspired to do the same and hopefully share about it too. I'd love if y'all started leaving more comments and just talking about if these are helping you and what you're digging and stuff like that. And before I jump into all this stuff, I'll just say that not only can you work with me one on one if you want to, but I'm also starting a new thing in which I incorporate a tarot reading at the beginning of a coaching session if you want. It's something new that I'm kind of working on. I'm excited about it and also a little shy about it still because I'm kind of a noob when it comes to tarot stuff. But I've been earnestly practicing and learning a lot, and I would love to incorporate that into coaching. And so I'm doing a few free sessions. And whether you like that or you just want to know more about regular, straight up, no tarot coaching, it's free to talk to me about it either way. And so you can email me at amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com and find out more. All right, let's dive right in. Let's just fucking dive into this so I can get out of here and take a nap. I'm gonna go to bed early. All right, that's a lie. This month's theme is rigorous honesty, and usually when I'm the most tired is when I end up staying up till like way past my bedtime, commenting on social media or reading weird things or listening to podcasts. I don't know. I'm gonna try to go to bed early. We'll see how that works. All right, so what's inspiring me this last week? I found another podcast that I really like that's helping me understand tarot, and it is called Tarot Bites, Bytes. with Teresa Reed. And I've only listened to a couple episodes so far, but I'm super stoked because I think you remember last week I mentioned Tarot for the Wild Soul with Lindsay Mack, which is a fucking podcast that I'm just in love with for so much more than the tarot stuff. But she's interviewed on this podcast. So I love when things connect, like when you go down one rabbit hole and you see that, oh, it's all connected to this other thing I've been super interested in. That happens to me a lot. I think that's synchronicity a little bit, where everything just sort of dovetails together and connects in this really beautiful way. So I really like that. And I'm interested in that. So that is something I've been learning from and listening to a lot these last few days. And just the tarot in general has been really inspiring me. It's been cool to allow myself to follow that impulse and that kind of reawakened urge. I've had tarot decks for a few years now, but it was always just sort of a hobby. And now I'm really enjoying the call to learn more and memorize the meanings of the cards and explore my own interpretations. And I'm interacting with them daily now, and it's been super helpful in giving myself readings and doing like daily draws and stuff like that, and then learning how other people do it. It's just been really fun and awesome. I love the imagery about it. I love the history about it. I love that it's like just another way of experiencing the world or our own consciousness. Like it can just spark something new and different that doesn't have to do with traditional ways of knowing. And I am all about that shit. And I think that has, well, I could say more about that. I'll spare you the soapbox, but I was going to say some stuff about feminism and decolonizing our minds, but stay tuned. I'm sure there will be another episode where I talk more about that. But just embracing these non-traditional ways of knowing and not just discounting them as woo-woo, I think is so important in reclaiming like the feminine and the intuitive and what is natural and good in the world. So restoring balance through those kind of things, I think, is groovy. All right, the meat. What the fuck have I been struggling with needing coaching around? I always laugh because it's like, how the fuck do I just choose one? But there's usually like one issue that's kind of more up than others. I'm happy to report that the body image stuff has gotten a little mellowed. I feel like I've made some progress through that. I'm just accepting that it's going to be a lifelong journey and that it'll flare up, especially when I'm doing difficult or challenging things in other areas. But the big wave of like fierce self-hatred and fierce insecurity and just feeling like, oh my God, have I done any work on this at all? A lot of that has sort of subsided. And I can tell that, in fact, in those days of the biggest struggle was actually a time of real healing. And I can tell that another layer of that has kind of healed and transformed, which is great. And I mentioned that because if you're going through some shit, that's a way that I've encouraged myself to sit with negative emotion and get through difficult times. And it just keeps proving itself to be true. It's not just wishful thinking, that over and over again in those really difficult, challenging times, it can be such an opportunity for growth and radical healing. Like it's this idea of that it has to come up and into our awareness to be truly healed or released. So if you're in something like that, have faith and engage with it and lean into it. And it will pass. And when we're engaged with it and willing to experience whatever it is, it actually has a chance to pass more quickly. And even if it's not about trying to get it done quicker, that can be a problem. But it can be a little less grating, or it can feel a little gentler if we're at least willing to be like, okay, this is happening. You know, we talk about in recovery, we talk about just let the train run over you. Like, it's not about giving up. It's just being like, okay, this is fucking happening. This is what is. I'm just going to be with it and not fight it so much. And then you can save your energy for doing the rest of the things you need to do and letting this thing be revealed or heal it or whatever is happening. So hopefully that was encouraging and not super confusing. So I just wanted to report on that. And I also wanted to say that one thing that's been really coming up for me this last week that I struggle with, kind of speaking of this, this idea of wanting to fix it or being impatient with myself or my progress. This week has been a big time of practicing surrender again and what that means. And I struggle with that. But to me, it keeps speaking of resting more and pausing more and being willing to kind of step back from a thing and assess rather than just keep like pushing. In particular, this week, I was feeling some pressure around finances and things like that. And so I could feel this urgency coming up about like, I got to figure something out. I've got to da 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 with my finances. I've got to create this thing so I can sell it and have it be a thing. And instead, I actually took a day off, which felt sort of like, but that was what I felt guided to do and what actually felt like the best thing to do, even if it went against like my ego's drive to keep just pushing, pushing, pushing and efforting. Because that's like a big challenge for me that I work with a lot is understanding like there's a lot that I can do. I'm all about taking inspired action and taking next steps and just trying a lot of things and being active and being a co-creator and things like that. But there's also something bigger than me that's working through me. That's how I live my life. That's what I believe. And so anything that I'm creating, whether it's my art or a business or a relationship or whatever, I really think the work for me is to practice stepping aside more and more and letting what's being created kind of happen. And I know that to a lot of people who are unfamiliar with this stuff, it can sound like passivity or like giving up, like I've said. And it's so not that at all. And the more I practice this, the more I see how a lot of times just like head down efforting is the more like time wasting way, or it just burns up energy. It ends up making me move backwards sometimes. So it feels really counterintuitive to be like, okay, I'm going to just like take a breath here. I'm going to take this day. I'm going to go spend some time in a park. I'm going to like tend to my home. I'm going to bake some cookies. I'm just going to like chill for a second. It's kind of at those moments where things feel like more urgent, like when I can't afford to rest. That's like the clue for me lately is when I actually really should rest. And then I get a chance to like connect to source and connect back to my path and connect back to my body and myself and just see like, okay, what wants to unfold next? And then what's the best next action that I can take to help that? I'm finding more and more, and this was kind of driven home for me as I got sober and in recovery, was like my life's not so much about me anymore. Like a big part of my problem was thinking only about myself and being in the center of the world and thinking that I was responsible for everything and wanting to control everything and run the show. And so this surrender piece is so crucial to me now, and my peace of mind and my effectiveness in the world, because it's through that I actually get clarity and understand like what actually needs to happen next. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's working for me. And I just always, the reason I bring it up as a thing I'm coaching myself around is because it just feels, I can like punish myself a lot. And this, I talk a lot about self-care, and that's one of the things I'm working on in this think tank business course thing. I've got some ideas about helping people implement self-care more. And I think we get this idea that like, if I rest or take a break or take a pause or take care of myself, I'm being selfish. I'm not being responsible. So then there's this layer of shame that happens. And really, like, shame does not serve anything. If we're in shame, we're avoiding our feelings, we're avoiding the world, we're not taking useful or effective action. So again, that's why that can be useful to take those pauses and then see what comes up and see how that feels. And then that's the work to do, right? Anytime I can notice a place where I'm feeling ashamed or too hard on myself, I know that that's a big clue to do the work there, because that's going to keep me stuck. So, oh, and I wrote again about something about rigorous honesty. I was talking about doing it messy. And I felt like there was something I wanted to say. What the fuck? Well, I can say that I'm a woman in recovery and I'm committed to a 12-step program, and I've been feeling more and more like lazy around that and lackadaisical. And if you're in recovery, you know, like we can't afford to rest on our laurels, as is said. And I can't afford to get complacent. So maybe I just wanted to name that. Like the whole rigorous honesty thing came from AA for me. It's very important to me and to my sobriety today. And so just kind of naming to y'all, like to hold myself accountable. I think it would be good to say, like, I feel myself kind of drifting away and I'm going to recommit, and maybe I'll call, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you all. I'm going to call a fellow alcoholic when I get done with this video, and that's going to help me like check on someone else and be of service and keep my ass close to the program. I've been going to my meetings, but not really like engaged. Sorry, I don't mean this to be confessional. I had just written down rigorous honesty, and I knew it was connected to maybe making sure I'm sharing with you all where I'm at with that and how I plan on doing better. All right, and the last thing I will leave you with is something exciting that's happening to or for me, or a win. Oh, so just admitting that that I'm curious about tarot and I'm practicing it and learning about it and want to incorporate it into my coaching some. Um, I shared that with folks, and today I did my first reading, and it went so well, and I loved doing it. And the woman said that it helped her, and she found clarity, and it was really cool. And I love this, has always been my jam. Like, show me the place where science meets spirituality, where they don't discount each other, but actually start enhancing, improving, and supporting each other. I fucking love science. I fucking love the spirit world. I love the woo. I love magic. I love tradition. I love nature. Um, I just love all the things. And I love when things connect in this beautiful way. These two worlds come together that normally don't exist together. And so for me, a lot of the coaching that I respect and admire and practice for myself is kind of, it's just up here. It's just about the mind. It is some about feelings in the body, but it's not, it's very like pragmatic and logical and reasonable. And that's great. It's super helpful. It's changed my life. And the tarot is rocking my face off, and intuitive ways of knowing, and being more open about my spirituality and just claiming that for myself and not discounting it or not feeling ashamed of it and like discounting myself as woo, just being like, no, this is real for me. And if you don't get it, that's okay. I'm not pushing it on anyone, but just honoring it for myself, being more vocal about it, and then being bold enough to blend them together and be like, hey, would anyone be interested in this? And yes, people are. And I got to do my first reading today, and it was rad. So once again, if you're into that, I'm doing some free sessions to just kind of practice and get a feel for it and see what people think. So definitely jump in on that. I've got kind of a waiting list happening, but I've got room for a few more. So if you're curious or interested, I'm also going to be offering that for sale most likely very soon. So check in with me, hit me up. My email is amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com. And for just, if you're like, I don't know the tarot thing, but I'm down for some coaching, we can do it sans tarot as well. Just shoot me an email. I'd love to talk with you about any old thing. I hope you're having a great day. Enjoy your weekend, and I will be back Saturday with what the heck do we do Saturday? Oh, I'm just going to talk more about rigorous honesty. Oh, I forgot to tell you, sorry. There was something else I wanted to be honest about as it relates to anti-racist work, because that is something I want to stay on. And the thing I wanted to just sort of admit was that once again, it's like falling asleep. Like, you wake up, you're tired. You're like, I got to get up. I got an appointment. I'm just going to rest my eyes for a minute. And the next thing you know, you've slept for another hour or two. That's how anti-racist work can be for me, where I like snap out of my white privilege, my complacency, my whatever, because some shit in my face, and I'm like, never again, and I'm going to stay awake. And then all of a sudden I start drifting away. And so I'm still doing stuff, but I just wanted to name that, like, I can feel that temptation to sort of like let it pass and just fall back into my daily life and my status quo, where I'm not talking about that as much. And I really think it's important to keep being vocal about it, to keep it up in my own awareness as well as in y'all's, since I have this little platform right now. So I just wanted to kind of be honest about that, and then say I'm still committed to this work. And yeah, and I feel like I should say another action that I'm going to take. Like, it's one thing to say I'm committed to this, but I think naming concrete actions that we're going to do can be helpful. So I'm going to call another alcoholic to stay close to my program. And I'm going to open up Me and White Supremacy again. I've gone through that before, by Layla F. Saad, Saad. A great workbook for looking at my internalized racism. And I know of another girl who's going through it as well, and I'm going to hit her up and talk to her about it. So those are my promises and commitments. And Saturday, I will be talking more about rigorous honesty and what that can mean and look like. And maybe I'll even think of some cool art to do around it. Let me know what you think. Have an awesome day / evening / wherever you are in the world. Just enjoy your time here on this planet. You are precious and amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending some of your precious time with me. And I'm going to wrap it up, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.